Assalamu alaikum students. This video will present a brief overview of our uh, uh, yesterday's class. Uh, we talked about linguistic typology, and we tried to understand what linguistic typology generalizes. We also try to understand how um, this generalization across different languages of the world is um, has patterns. It is not random, and then we also try to understand that this is about different degree of variation across the languages of the world, and then these variations have limitations. So we started talking about word order. So why word order is important for linguistic typology. We talked about how this word order is analyzed on a declarative sentence, and we also talked about different kinds of word orders, such as we talked about the three kinds of word orders, such as SOV, SVO, or VSO. Um, these are the three kinds of word orders. Typologies often define languages of the world into these three types of word orders. So um, then we also talked about why this kind of study is important. Um, and then we also talked about how partial versus type holistic typology is important. We have been talking about linguistic typology is not a comparison is a comparison of different languages in the world, whereas it deals with specific language structure or language phenomena. For example, in 19th century, we also talked about the historical linguistics and how historical linguistics deals with the language change and how it deals with how it deals with studying language diachronically, and then to reconstruct the one parent language, human parent language, and then they have been studying language change through history as compared to the typology. The focus of typology is not diachronic study, it is synchronic study, and it deals with specific features of the language, such as just a little while ago we were talking about word orders, and word orders, three kinds of word order that we have across different language in different languages across the world. So then we talked about the why um, why this is important, why this power of generalization is important in this regard, because this actually um, reveals, or it relates this process, or a process of speech flow, and then this word order that we talked about a little while ago, how it is linked to the fundamental ways of thinking or processing information, which is closely connected to the characteristics of grammar of a specific language. Then we also talked about morphology. We started talking about morphological typology, that generally we talked about how analytical and synthetic languages, how the continuum that we have been talking about of morphological typology, it starts with analytical languages, and the other end of this type continuum is synthetic languages. So languages which so then you have we also talked about synthetic analytical languages with which in which you have one word is actually one morpheme, and then in synthetic languages we have word is the word and morpheme ratio is actually greater than one. Like you in a word you have more than one morphemes. Then finally we have polysynthetic language, in which we have one word is actually a whole clause or a whole sentence. Then um, in our upcoming class, we are going to talk about typical features of analytical languages, and then we will be talking about um, uh, then we are going to talk about word orders in detail. Um, so please for this, for the other part of my recorded lecture will be about typical features of analytical languages. Then it will be also about word order typology, and this also will include the uh, left branching versus right branching of the heads of a specific structure. So, so stay tuned, and see you in my class.